afternoon, I tend to take a break from coffee. Otherwise, the caffeine will keep me up at night, which is very unfortunate. When I was young, I could drink coffee all day long and the caffeine would have no effect. But I'm not young anymore. I'm getting old. So I have to start thinking about those things. So, no coffee. I might stop in the middle and get a drink of soda or something to wet my whistle. There's an English phrase. Wet my whistle. Wet, W-H-E-T. W-H-E-T. Wet. Wet. We say wet. Proper pronunciation of WH together is with a H sound. Wet. Wet. Like Hawan in Korean. Wet. Wet. But we say wet. So, wet my whistle. Whistle. Whistle means mouth, lips. When my mouth feels dry, my lips feel dry, they need to be prepared so that I can speak or eat or whatever other function I'm going to use my mouth for. And so we call it wetting my whistle. And it could be making it wet as well. So if I drink something, I'm bringing liquid so I can refresh my throat, my mouth, and my lips. Anyway, I might have to wet my whistle at some point. And if I do, I'll get up and I'll go get a drink of soda and I'll come back and finish our discussion. All right, so no coffee. Tea, I'll probably have some tea later this afternoon. I've fallen in love with a variety of teas, and I enjoy that. That's a thing that's developed in me since I've been here in Korea. Tea was never really that big a part of my life in America. My mom liked tea when I was growing up. Beyond that, I wasn't particularly fond of it. It was kind of like hot water that had a little bit, not much, but a little bit of the flavor of whatever leaves or wood we put inside that water. So, not really impressive. Coffee is essentially the same thing, but for some reason, we think of it as being more, at least I think of it as being more substantive than tea. But in my old age, I've taken to appreciating the subtleties of flavor that we'll find in tea. So now I enjoy a cup of something that's not such a bold, strong taste. We have great teas here in Korea. Of course, green tea. I've gone to the west coast of the Korean peninsula, right, where they have green tea fields on the side of a mountain. Been to the green tea festival over there, and it was really a wonderful experience and very fun. I'll post a picture of me in a green tea field from several years ago. Anyway, tea's good. I'll probably get to do that here soon. I hope you've got your coffee or your tea so you can wet your whistle anytime that you feel like it during this brief discussion. Brief because I did a 30-minute video and it was too long. A friend of mine said, you know what? Yeah, we're not patients. You don't have to speak to us like a doctor. Just give us some ideas. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shorten things down to just give some basic ideas. I will end with a song, however, but we'll get to that after about 10 minutes. So, what I want to talk to you about today, or at least now, this afternoon, is the idea of values. A value is something that you think is worth working for, something worth living your life for. Aristotle didn't really call these things values. He talked about goods in his book, The Nicomachean Ethics. He talked about finding something that is good in itself. I'm not sure exactly if you understand what that means, but that means it's good for no other reason than the fact that it's simply good. We don't have to justify it. We don't have to say that it's useful for attaining another good. It's just good because it is good. Part of the idea that we can live our life according to natural laws and natural values, natural goods, is that we understand that there is good and there's evil in the world. And it's not because we decide that this is evil and we decide that this is good, but because this is good intrinsically. It's good in itself. And this is not good. This is the opposite of good. Not because we determine that it's not good, but because it is evil, it is ungood, the opposite of good intrinsically. It's inherently what it is. So Aristotle would go through an exercise. I don't know if he did this with his students. It's not exactly what he did in the book Nicomachean Ethics, but he would say, pick a good, something that you consider to be good. And maybe you consider friends to be good. Yeah, friends is a good. It's something worth striving for. It's nice for us to have friends. But he would ask you a question, why are friends so good? Well, the answer is because friends help us to feel good about ourselves. So instead of our highest good being friends, feeling good about ourselves is even a better good. Well, why is feeling good about ourselves such a good thing? Well, because it makes us happy. So feeling good about ourselves is more important than friends, right? Happiness is actually the really ultimate good that we're looking for. And then we could say, why is happiness important? Well, we would say, well, maybe there's no answer to that. If there's no answer to that, if there's no answer to the why is a good so good, or why is a value our highest value, then that value or that good is good in itself. It's intrinsically good. So there are several different things that we could look at to say that are intrinsically good, but even all of those other things would tend to lead towards a happy existence or a happy life. So if we talk about justice, fairness between people in particular, right? Courage, well, courage, if we have honor, those things are good. Those are intrinsically good things, but even they have a quality in them that says if you have those things, you have justice, you have honor, right? And courage, then you're going to have an overall happy life. Maybe not a life that you can point to from minute to minute and say, this is happiness. But by the time you die, you could look back and say, yeah, I had all of those intrinsic goods. The unique thing about finding our highest value or our highest good, if we know what it is, that everything we do is going to help us to get to that point. Like an archer, right? We pull back the string and we shoot the arrow off into the air, and we hope that it hits our target. Our target is our highest good, our highest value. If we understand our highest good, then we can understand why we do the things we do. And we can answer questions along the way. What should I do in this situation? Well, what is my highest good? What is my highest value? If we answer those questions according to following the path of that arrow to our highest value, well, then our life will make sense. It'll be coherent. It'll match. Or in another psychologist phrase, it'll be congruent. That's a good phrase. Congruent. Well, people don't really think on the level of what is my highest good or what is my highest value before they undertake certain actions. They just do what they're going to do. But if you look closely, you can identify their highest value or their highest good according to their actions. Because generally speaking, people act, even unconsciously, in a manner that is consistent with their highest good, their highest value. Well, what does this discussion tell us? What does it help us to understand? When people do good things, what we judge to be good, they do those good things for a reason, because it's consistent with the principles that guide the goods, the values that guide their lives. The ultimate goal, the ultimate target that they wish to hit. If people do bad things, those bad things also are guided by the path towards their ultimate target, the ultimate good or value that they wish to attain by the end of their life, what it means for them to find happiness. Or maybe it's not happiness that is their intrinsic good. Maybe it's something else. So let's look at a couple examples. People rioting in America. Can it ever be said that breaking a window of a store and stealing all of the merchandise inside is a way to attain justice, honor, to display courage? Probably not. So the ultimate good being perhaps one of the virtues, the cardinal virtues or other virtues that we consider in our lives, something that makes us generous, kind, gentle, but courageous, strong when necessary, honorable. If those things would not allow us to undertake criminal activity, then the criminal's behavior points to a different highest value. Their highest value, their highest good is something else. And if you work through the steps, you go through the why questions time and time again, asking why is that your highest good, ultimately those people would come to the highest value of self. Saying, making myself what I want, satisfying myself, whether that means sexual gratification or taking money to make myself wealthy without having to work for it, or stealing things from other people, anything that's going to satisfy myself, my id, to use Sigmund Freud's term. My animal desire to get anything that I want. Well, if self is their highest good, then the criminal activity makes sense. So one way of looking at the rioting going on in America that started ostensibly as part of the demonstrations is to say that the riots are being undertaken to help people attain their highest selfish desires. Selfish desires. Their ultimate good is not virtues. It's not the pure, undefiled happiness that would lead someone to living a good life. It's all about themselves. And in fact, if you look closely, the rioters, the criminals, are looking for ways to get what they want without any obligation to pay for it. They want other people to pay their way. They want to be handed a good life, because their self is what's all important. You can take this idea and take it a step further, which we won't go into today.